All right. Well, it's nice to see so many people here with us today. Hello, my name is Hannah Crapone. I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Certiport. We're so happy to have you joining us for our second IT Specialist Academy webinar today. Now, please note that this is a webinar rather than a meeting, so everyone is currently on mute. So if you have a question, please feel free to drop into either the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll make sure to address those as those come up. And please also drop in and let us know where you're joining us from. We'd love to see where we're connected and where we have people attending. So today our topic is curriculum for the IT specialist classroom, and we are thrilled to have back Kim Johnson from LearnKey. So Kim is the Vice President of Customer Success at LearnKey and has been with LearnKey now for over 12 years, helping thousands of teachers, counselors, customers, and employees and students in obtaining industry certification by utilizing LearnKey's learning products. She currently leads multiple teams that support the implementation and ongoing customer support of LearnKey learning products to school districts, nonprofits, corporations, and the Veterans Administration. Kim is passionate about working with school districts and educators to provide resources that support and engage all students at every learning level. And I was just telling Kim, I always feel so excited because Kim does such a wonderful job presenting and going through these demos with us. So without further ado, Kim, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Hannah. And hello to everybody. I love that you all are putting in the chat where you guys are from. And I think I've seen like a red reflection. Sorry about that. I'll move that. So I'm excited. Yes, put in there. I see some from Texas. Wow, Mexico and California, I think I saw. So you guys go ahead and put it in there. We're excited to have you today and talk about ITS. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, Arkansas, Dallas, excellent. Okay, Hannah, can you see my screen here?
Yep, you're all good to go.
Excellent, thanks you guys. So as Hannah mentioned, yes, my name's Kim Johnson. And actually, I should have updated Hannah. This is my fault. I've actually been with LearnKey for 14 years as of March. And working with teachers and school districts and helping your kids achieve certifications is amazing. I mean, we all kind of, as I call myself an older folk now, I go in and say, oh my gosh, if I had this when I was in school, it would have been amazing, right? So I think we all agree that our students should be grateful for what we're providing, and that all of you are kind of helping them along that process to launch them into the workforce. So really excited to talk to you guys about ITS today. This is a huge category for us, I should say, in really an amazing stepping stone leading into an IT career. So we were really excited when Certiport was announcing that they're releasing these courses, and we definitely created content for them quickly last year. So we were really excited about them as well. So today I'm going to present LearnKey and how we provide the courseware, kind of best practices for how we use it in the classroom, and then kind of how we use it we work with adult students across the nation to help them achieve certifications. So I'll share some of those best practices as well. So a little review about LearnKey. We actually have been around for 35 years, believe it or not. So yes, our very first course was WordPerfect on a beta VHS tape, for those of you who are around for that. So we've released these courses, and everything we release is online at this point and on the Geometrics platform. So we offer this to over 500,000 students at this point. And I think last year we've released over, or had students enter over 1 million courses at this point on the Geometrics platform. So that's pretty amazing and a huge accomplishment for us and for all students who have been using LearnKey courseware. We do, as I mentioned, work with the VA. So we work with disabled veterans who maybe were in the IT field previously, and maybe deployed and then come back, and they need certifications to get into new roles, new jobs, and make sure they're up to date on the current software. And so we use a lot of the ITS courses and certifications for that as well. So here's a quick overview of all the courses that we offer. I think we cover about 85% of what Certiport offers as far as certification. So today we're going to focus on the ITS courses, and but you can see we cover quite a few other categories as well. So one thing that changed, we had been a partner with Certiport for over 10 years and creating content based on the certifications they release. And what really changed for all of us is now partnering and kind of aligning everything that we do. That made it so much easier for your reps and for you as teachers to have courseware specifically aligned to those. because I think we would talk to teachers and they'd have YouTube links and they'd have textbooks that they're working from. And really, was it supporting and a resource that was aligning to that all the way through? So Geometrics ended up creating an online platform, and many of you are familiar probably with the practice test that you've been using for years. They created the online portal, and LearnKey was one of the first vendors on that new platform. And it's a game changer for both students and teachers to have the courseware and your practice all in one place. There's not two different portals to jump back and forth to and moving all over the place. So it's really nice to have it all in one central location. So with that, now through your Certiport representative, you have the option of getting a practice and LearnKey or your curriculum kind of all through one vendor and through one PO, I guess you could say, in one invoice. So that's really nice, and that we're all aligned to the same objectives. One thing with LearnKey as well, we are known for our video-based training, our testing, and some courseware, online courseware, but we had teachers that would email us and say, hey, we need more reinforced learning, we need projects, we need, other resources to kind of help support this, to prepare them. So we ended up creating these workbooks, and years ago we would ship them out, bind them, and we ended up creating PDF workbooks to go with the courseware. So this includes like fill in the blanks, glossary key terms and definitions. We've got the projects in there just to kind of help support these resources as they're going through the course. As far as the outline, and I'm going to show you guys live what your students would experience and what's included, but almost always you're going to have a pre-assessment, you're going to have exercise labs, video-based training, post-assessments to just kind of, reassess what they've been working on. And this is all going to be broken down by domain so that it aligns with the domains and what Certiport and the objectives are laid out with. We do include how-to links from a support standpoint. One thing that really changed over the last few years, and COVID really changed all this, is I was flying out and training teachers and groups of teachers over, webinars, and it's almost like I was walking everybody through how to do this in your classroom. And then all of a sudden you guys are having to train parents how to log in and from home and best practices. So we do include videos on a resource page that we can share out as well. Just best practices for your students, because they may be redeeming the code from home on a Chromebook this year, continuing to do that. So we do have resources that include that to help support you guys in what we're kind of all dealing with right now. As far as the administrative panel, I'll show you this live as well, and kind of best practices when creating access codes. But the nice thing is it's just a license that lands on your administrative panel that you already have set up. So you've got your practice test license, and then if you purchase a LearnKey license, it just lands there, and the access code can be set up the same way. So it's so much nicer to have it all in one location. There's also best practices here on creating an access code, and I'll kind of go through this live, but this is also included in the slide deck. And then best practices on reporting features, which I'll show as well. And as far as support, this is kind of where we get quite a few questions on how to contact support if you have questions about LearnKey or the practice tests or the panel or the student portal as well. So when it comes to technical support, say your student needs to reset their password, or you're having trouble with an access code, something like that, that would be Geometrics support. And you would contact them just because they kind of have ownership of the portal and kind of the management on the user side. When it comes to curriculum, and you guys might have feedback about a test question or how you navigate through something, that's really on the LearnKey side and how you navigate through the curriculum and courseware. And I want to tell you guys, we host a live webinar every Tuesday and Thursday for anybody who would like to join and ask questions or clarify something. We keep that open, and if nobody shows up after 5 minutes, we do shut it down, but we do offer those every Tuesday and Thursday for anybody who'd like to ask questions. Okay, that's the end of the slide deck, and hopefully, Hannah, can we see my student portal screen now?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So those of you who might be familiar with Geometrics and the platform, the one thing about LearnKey is you do have to access the courseware on the online portal. So that's located on www.geometrics.net. And that's how they're going to access the courseware. So sorry, I'm fumbling over words. It's like Shelley on the seashore. I'm going to say that like 5 times after today. So anyway, when they're accessing this, you might be used to that little desktop icon. So those, you can access the practice tests, and some of our courses do utilize the SMS, but for ITS, everything would be accessed online and through the online portal. Okay, as we log in to the courseware, we can see, I'm going to scroll down here, but we see on the left-hand side, we've got tests, we've got courses, we have study guides. So I'm just going to use this as an example today. Let me go down and I will actually choose a course here instead. Okay, and you're going to see a lot of courses on my account, but when you guys assign a practice or an access code to the students, you're just going to put whatever course you want them to access. So you can choose, maybe you start with Java, maybe you start with HTML and CSS or Python. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose Python here. And then as we break these domains open, you can see that we have broken down lessons kind of within that. So when Certiport decides what they want to include in an exam, they go in with their experts, whoever they're associating this certification with, and then from there they decide the objectives. What would we consider somebody certified with these specific topics and subtopics, okay? Once they decide that, they send those objective domains to us as vendors, and then we create content around those and create that within the course. So we are all obligated to cover all those objectives and create resources for all of you to help support your students. So the first thing I'm going to select here is the glossary. And these are amazing, you guys. This is like part of the bonus of working with a company like Geometrics. We used to just, print these on paper or in a PDF, and you guys can copy and paste them, drop in a Quizzes software if you want, but they've created flashcards for us. So your students can go in and use a memory game, maybe. They can come in and match these up. My favorite's probably this quiz because it gives me instant feedback. And we feel these glossary key terms are really important because if your students go to sit for the exam and they're not familiar with these terms, they're going to get stuck on that particular task or question. So we really like to reinforce the learning with these topics just because we want to make sure they understand the verbiage that's going to come across as they're completing the exam. Okay, and then as we go on the left-hand side here, we can see we've got a pre-assessment, we've got video-based training, exercise labs, and then a post-assessment. So there may only be a few questions. It depends on how much is being covered in this domain, but we try to cover all the objectives between the assessments and the labs, and then for sure in the workbooks as well, which I'll show you here in just a minute. So if we want to go in, we can take this as many times as we need to, but we usually recommend they just take the pre-assessment one time. And that's really just to set a baseline of how much do they already know about what's going to be covered in this domain. So they're going to answer to the best of their ability, tell them no pressure, just try and answer as best you can. And then everything's being recorded in here as your students go in to complete these. So in order to finish it and score this, and no, don't judge me. Oh, I got 50%, look at that. So there were only a few questions. So your students can come in and take this and then review missed questions if they want to really get an understanding of what they don't know. So they can get feedback in this pre-assessment. And this is really, you guys, about them learning and in training mode, just to understand what they don't know before they get to the practice test and before they sit for the exam. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this out and hit save. Okay, so the next step would be the video-based training.
Hi,
so when we're filming these, we try to showcase if it's software we're referring to or training on, or something that we can showcase, we try to show it 85% of the time to make sure we're navigating through software and that they understand where everything's located. On the right-hand side, as they go through each of these topics and each video clip, you're going to see a check mark land here on the left-hand side of that topic. So that's how they know where they've left off each time they come in and out of the course. And yes, it's tracking everything that they're doing as they're in and out of the course. So some of you may be, assigning this as homework and tracking it, or the students can use it for review. It's going to track all of their activity as well. We do have closed captioning here on the bottom, and some courses have more options than others. So we can see a lot of options here. So I'm just going to select English. So we do have a closed captioning option. And in some cases, teachers choose to use this kind of almost in a hybrid situation. Like they might log in as a student in the classroom, launch it up on a smartboard or whiteboard, and watch it as a group. If you do, you can use this full screen option. and then project it, and everybody can watch it together. You can pause it and then go through into a group discussion or a project from there. So you guys can use it however it supports you. When we create these courses, we don't envision you guys sitting there in the back of the room and a bunch of kids with earbuds. This is really meant to just support you as a resource in the process of preparing them for the exam. Okay, so yes, you can kind of skip around. Your students can go back and review. For those students, and I was one of these students, believe it or not, I was pretty shy in high school and I was too scared to raise my hand. So this would have been really nice to go back in and review, because I probably wouldn't have raised my hand to understand or clarify and put myself on the spot. So, but also some teachers have used this for students who want to move forward, maybe a little more advanced, and they can knock out, 3 certifications in the time that you've got your classroom on the one. So in one scenario, I did work with a teacher years ago out of Florida, and she kind of addressed all different learning levels in her same classroom with the courseware. So she had 3 or 4 students that were on the test prep already and kind of ready to take the exam next week. So she assigned them the practice test and they were in there. And then she had 4 or 5 that just needed to learn basic cropping in Photoshop. So she assigned a very specific area. So they did have earbuds and they watched it for about 20 minutes. After they watched it, she walked them through a project, had them crop a flower out of an image. And then she had 2 students that day who showed up who had been absent for 2 weeks and so far behind. So she had them go in, open up the course, and they were trying to get caught up with the rest of the class. So that's our intent, is use it however it works for you in your classroom. So these are just best practices on what I've worked with and other teachers as well. Okay, moving into the lab. So these will be a combination of simulations. It might be a drag and drop if it's more terminology we need them to understand. But these are interactive pieces. Just how much did they learn? What do we need them to understand before we get to the post-assessment? So I'm just going to drop these in here to show you kind of how one of them will work. I'll hit next. So in the lab, we are going to give them instant feedback. We want them to understand, because the same question will likely be in the post-assessment, and that time they're not going to get hints. So it's best that they understand how these all work and how best to answer them. But definitely, I will recommend to all of you to tell your students not to memorize the questions. We are obligated to map to those objectives, but we cannot write it to exactly how the exam is written. And so if your students memorize their questions, they're going to struggle. So make sure that they're just understanding the content and not memorizing it all. Okay, I'm going to click finish here and close this out. So you can see I'm going to get a score report here, and I can take it multiple times. So they may take it 4 or 5 times depending on the course and how many questions are in here. Okay, before I get to the final post-assessment, now where are all those projects? What was she talking about with those additional items? So up here in the reference material, this is where we've got a student workbook. So this is a PDF workbook that your students can download. And this includes, like I mentioned, the fill in the blanks. A lot of teachers will have students do the fill in the blanks, like as they might, you guys might choose to print out this page, but it is interactive where they can actually fill this out electronically. So I'll just type this in here. I need to fix that. So this will show all of the questions as they're going through the video to make sure they're retaining the information, almost like notes. And then they can turn this in electronically by doing a print to PDF. They can save the PDF and turn it in that way through a network sharing file folder. Some of you may use Canvas or another LMS, but they can turn it in that way as well. So those are the fill in the blanks. And then we can also use, let me just go to one of these projects to show you an example here. So here's a project. At the top, we can see there's project files. So this might be a template we've created in a Word doc or maybe a text file. So they're going to pull up this file and then modify it using the instructions here laid out in the workbook. This will calculate how many minutes it will take for them to complete it. And then this is the exact subtopic in the video that this correlates to. So if most of you are using it in the classroom and then you're projecting up on the smartboard, you can see this is exactly where you would launch off to this project. You can do them as group projects, individual projects, however it works best for you. And then right here, we can see we cover the objectives for the certification exam. So this is kind of just your checks and balances. You're going through everything, and you guys can choose. These are projects that are additional resources, but not required. So you guys can decide, depending on how much time you have, you can choose which projects to use or which ones to take out. So you see, we've got quite a few here. Okay, so next in the actual course, I'm going to close out of here. The support files can be downloaded right here. And this is where you're going to download those project files that correlate back to those, and they can download those in advance. Okay, so the final piece, after they've gone through everything in the course, we can do the post-assessment. And this one is really just assessing how much they've just learned in the entire part of this domain. So this is a combination of video, pre-assessment, the labs, the project files, and we can go in and retake this test because I've already taken it before. And we can go in and attempt to answer all of these. So I'm just going to forward through here. Here's an example of one of the labs or a simulation. So these are just a few examples. Oh, fonts, here we go. Just so you guys can see what they're supposed to look like. I'll pick string. And then I'm going to finish this and submit it for grading. Okay, so you can see we can take these multiple times, and it's going to outline exactly which ones they've accomplished and completed and which ones they still need to work on. So a general practice for our students, we go in and make sure that they pass all post assessments with 80% or higher before they can move on to the practice test and before they sit for exam. So we kind of use it as a qualifier and mile marker before we allow them to sit for it, so that we're not wasting their time or vouchers or anything like that. The LearnKey portion and the practice test is really meant to help support preparing for the exam. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything on the student side. Hannah, do we have any questions before we move to the administrative portal?
Yes, so I was just gonna respond to one that just came up. Does the exercise lab work on Chromebooks?
Good question. And I think that's the biggest question I've been asked this year. It's yes. So everything that we saw today, yes, will work on a Chromebook. They can go through the video, the pre-assessments, post-assessments, labs. So yes, they can access it from a Chromebook.
And the other question that we got that I addressed in the chat is, how do we get access to this? And I believe that the best way to do that is through their Certiport territory manager, correct?
All right, so if you guys want a demo, you can just request a demo code and pricing through your Certiport rep, and they will give you access to the course or whatever courses you want on the LearnKey side. And then yes, you can go in and use it just like I'm walking through today and see the student side for sure.
Perfect. Okay, those were the two questions that have come up so far. So let's keep going.
Thank you. And I saw that battery thing pop up, Hannah, and I'm praying that I hope my battery doesn't drop here. So sorry. Okay. The best practices for the administrative side. So many of you already have an administrative portal and access. And the nice thing is when you have access to a LearnKey license, you're going to see these course resources. So many of you might be wondering, okay, I saw those fill in the blanks, I saw those project files, but now do I have answer keys? And it's yes. So let's go into the Java category and we can see the admin resources here. Okay, so here is the teacher workbook. And here we are going to have answer keys. We have lesson plans. We have a bunch of stuff built in here, those glossary key terms and definitions. So this is kind of how you can map it out. So it looks like domain 4 is approximately 4 hours. So you've got a map here at the top, and then what's covered, if there's a file associated, if you have fill in the blanks, what projects you have. So everything's kind of aligned here. So you can kind of map this out and see how you want to insert it on your side. So those are included in the back of this teacher workbook. And these are all resources that will automatically pop up when you purchase LearnKey license on the administrative portal. Anything projects, we may have notes for the teachers, or we still have objectives covered. And anywhere you see this might have been kind of an essay for the students or an answer, we do include the answer here or the file reference as well. So you can see these are all filled out. So this is your answer key and lesson plan all in one with your fill in the blanks. And then the support files, we include the start file and the finish file for the teacher so you can see what it's supposed to look like once they've completed the project. Obviously on the student side, we're just going to give them access to the start file. So those are the first area. That's the first area I direct all teachers to go to. And then your access code creation, general best practices that we suggest is really to create an access code per classroom. So if you purchase a site license, you have the ability to do that, and multiple teachers can create your own code. And we generally suggest that you create it with like your initials and your, maybe you want to do it by class period. So mine would be KJ, PER1. You have like, I think 7 characters to go in and create a code, and it's really nice. Then you can pull reports and everything by roster, and it matches all of your rosters. So you still have all the options of the custom test. You've got the reporting features here, and I'll just show you a few of them. So anything to do with the courses will be located here in the course reports. And you can pull it by class period here or by course. I'm going to go in and choose, I'll actually showcase Word just because I know somebody's been in that one. But here you can see we can pull it up by access code or by student name as well. Oh, my goodness. I forgot to put a start date in here. Let's back this up a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. And then we'll go in and pull it by Word. Associate, here we go. Okay, so this is where we're going to see the domain. We're going to see students. We have video breakdowns, so a percentage of how much. And then anywhere you see a score, this is where you can pull up the actual test score and then the results for what that particular test was for the student. So if you tell them, I want you to pass the post-assessment by this specific date and time, then you can go in and pull that up. Save this as a PDF if you want to. But also we have an export option here, which is a CSV file that you can now import to Gradebook or utilize it however you'd like. So you can just pull that date range either by week or go back to the first of the term or the semester, and then pull that information that way if you need to. We have one more report here that's the student progress report. And this one's really almost like a transcript of sorts. And you can pull this one up. You do have to put an end date on this one. And I'll choose, we'll see. I might have to use the 2019 because I don't know how many demos I've had in here. So I'll show you what that one looks like. So this one will showcase everything that the student's working on. This one's really nice for like a parent-teacher conference or a summary at the end of the semester or the end of the year. Anytime you see a yellow icon, that just means they haven't passed with 80% or higher, but this just really shows progress, which is nice. And I will tell you guys, we work directly with the development team at Gmetrics, and you may see new reports. We're constantly working on improving the platform and how to better use LearnKey. So you may have more coming up in the fall. So I want to open it up to any questions you guys may have. And I think, Hannah, I am like on a battery low, and I apologize. So I want to make sure I answer as many questions as I can before my battery dies.
Lucky for you, Kim, we only have a couple that have come through. You've been so thorough that we haven't had any that we really haven't addressed. So we did have one come up related to Max, which I know you answer quite a bit. It says, in Gmetrics, do Macs now have access to the practice test from Microsoft Office? I know that this is not related to IT specialist, but it says, or is it only the reviews that they will have access to?
Yeah, so for anything with Mac or like a Chromebook with a device that doesn't have access to the software, both the practice test and LearnKey, you would use, we both have simulations. And so you can use those on a Mac or a Chromebook, meaning it's just simulating. So it'll pull up almost like an image, and then you click through those images. So yes, your students can still finish some of those labs and those tests without having to have the software. So I know many of the Mac users or those on a device, yes, you still have options within our products that you can use. But as far as the SMS and the interaction, no, and the live software, no, it's not.
Shoot, it looks like we lost her, but hopefully that answers your question, Michelle. And I know we had some other questions about exams being auto-graded and some other additional follow-up question as far as how to access the material. So we are happy to answer those. I know that we just lost Kim, but our Certiport territory managers and our Certiport marketing team is happy to answer those questions for you. So if you have any additional follow-up questions, I'm going to drop my my email here into the chat. It's hannah.davis@pearson.com. So I'm happy to refer you to your Certiport representative if you have any additional follow-up questions. Just in closing, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be having another session next week. So if you're looking for some additional professional development and want to be able to access our upcoming sessions, I'll drop this link here into the chat as well. So you can go to our blog to be able to register for next week's session, where we'll be discussing artificial intelligence and how to teach that in the classroom. And then our final session for the end of the month will be about computational thinking. So we look forward to seeing you in the next couple of Wednesdays. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and we will see you guys in just a couple of weeks. Thank you.